Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. We read in this week's Parsha the following words: Ve'ata yeshev na avdecha tachar ha'na'ar, eved ladoni ve'hana'ar ya'al imechav. Therefore, please let your servant remain as a slave to my Lord instead of the boy, and let the boy go back with his brothers. This is Judah speaking, having promised his father Jacob that he would be responsible for Benjamin's well-being on their journey to Egypt, and believed that Jacob would die if the brothers returned without Benjamin, because Jacob had told him that that's exactly what would happen. Jacob had already lost Joseph. To lose Benjamin would have killed him. No parent should have to experience losing a child. And as the Torah makes clear, the pain of such a loss can be fatal spiritually, if not physically. So when Joseph accuses Benjamin of stealing his goblet and expresses his intent to enslave him as a result, Judah intervenes, saying, "Take me instead." Joseph is moved by Judah's gesture and sense of accountability and reveals himself to his brothers and expresses a belief that it was God's plan that events should transpire as they did so that Joseph could help save all of their lives. As by virtue of being sold into slavery, he had been put in a position to ultimately interpret Pharaoh's dreams, ensuring that he and they would not starve during the 7 years of famine. Now, there are some who ascribe to the "you have to have faith and trust that God has a plan" theology. But admittedly, I'm not one of those people, because I can't believe in a divine that causes needless harm to people, or that effectively eliminates free will and making choices from the equation due to some preordained plan. And yet Joseph seems to express such a belief, as his childhood dream interpretations are filled 20 years after he has them, and he's put in a position of power to save himself and his family. Could it really be that our lives are part of a broader plan, and that we simply cannot and may not ever understand what that plan is? Some of the ancient rabbis suggest that what makes Joseph's story unique is that in this moment of reunification with his brothers, he interprets God's presence in the story of his life. Again, he interprets God's presence in the story of his life, modeling for us all how to understand God in our own lives, because after all, while the Torah says that God spoke directly to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, God never speaks directly to Joseph. And as the Talmud teaches at the end of the prophetic area, also never speaks directly to us. We might think that someone who ran up to us, a contemporary, and said, "Well, God told me to do X, Y, or Z," we would look at them like, "You're a little, really? You sure?" Right? Upon meeting Jacob when he arrives in Egypt at Joseph's beckoning, Pharaoh asks him a simple question that we read this morning. Vayomer Paro el Yaakov, kama yemei shnei chayecha. Pharaoh asked Jacob, "How many are the years of your life?" Vayomer Yaakov el Paro, Yemei shnei megurai shloshim u'me'at shana, me'at vera'im hayu yemei shnei chayai, velo hisigo et yemei shnei chayai avotai b'mei megurehem. And Jacob answers Pharaoh and says, "The years of my sojourn, not my life, but my sojourn here on earth, are 130. Few and hard have been the years of my life, nor do they come up to the lifespans of my fathers during their sojourns." According to the Rashbam, Jacob felt the need to share with Pharaoh that he was not nearly as old as he might look, but that the various troubles in his life that he had endured had left their mark on his appearance. And the Midrash views this almost as a self-fulfilling prophecy, imagining God upset that Jacob was not more grateful for all of the protections offered him over the years. From Lavan, from Esav, saving Dinah. He's just been reunited with Joseph, his favorite son. But he still isn't happy. And the Midrash says that as a result, to ensure Jacob didn't lie to Pharaoh, God indeed shortened his lifespan to make sure that he died younger than his father and grandfather Isaac and Abraham respectively did. Now, perhaps by being in direct relationship with God, Jacob took for granted all that God had done for him, while for Joseph, needing to find God in his life story allowed for a deeper and more gratitude-filled connection to develop. In actively seeking to find God's impact in his life, rather than simply taking it for granted, Joseph shifted away from his father's scarcity mindset, one rooted, don't forget, in fighting over scarce blessings and birthrights. And Joseph shifts into an abundance consciousness. I have to admit that I still have Oxford on my mind. I was very moved by Rabbi Bergman's words last Shabbat, and I can only imagine that just as the loss of Joseph left an indelible mark on the life of his father Jacob, so too has a mark been left on the families of those slain in Oxford, on the lives of all who experienced trauma that day, and frankly, on all of us in various ways who feel the need to squeeze their kids or grandkids or the people in their lives just a bit tighter before sending them off to school or into the world in the morning, not knowing if they'll be coming home later that day. Like Jacob's interaction with Pharaoh, the lives that were taken in Oxford were much too brief. And their answers to Pharaoh's simple question, how many are the years of your life, would be heartbreaking. It's admittedly hard to think about how to frame life in an abundance consciousness mindset the way Joseph did when thinking about a resource that we know to be quite scarce, our children, our loved ones. So here's the best I can come up with this week. This Shabbat, this week, and every day thereafter, let us resolve to treat each day and every moment as precious. Let us express our love and appreciation of others openly and without reservation. Let us, like Joseph, aspire to find God in our life stories in ways that theologically work for us. Let us commit to bettering and, when necessary, overhauling existing systems in order to help those most in need and to ensure our collective safety as best we can. And let us have faith that while there are indeed events that strike us as unfathomable and unexplainable, that we as human beings have the power to shape the world as we see fit, and as Jews must make it our business to do so. Shabbat Shalom. Baruch Tziyah.